In this video, I'll be going over the answers to the Year 8 Maths practice questions from Unit 5. So question 1, Lara mixes 8 litres of soda water, 3 litres of Coke Zero, 1 litre of Diet Coke, 1 litre of red cordial, 5 litres of lemonade, and 4 litres of ice cubes to get the craziest drink her friends will ever have. Okay, so determine the following ratios in simplest form. So this is all about ratios. A is lemonade to ice cubes. So we have to keep that order. So we have lemonade to ice cubes. So then we can just put in the numbers. So if we read through that, it's got 5 litres of lemonade and 4 litres of ice cubes. So the ratio would just be 5:4. So we can't simplify that any further, so we'll just leave that answer as is. For B, it says Coke to soda water. Now if we read this question, we've actually got 2 different types of Coke. We've got Coke Zero plus Diet Coke. So we're going to add those together. So we've got Coke Zero plus Diet Coke to soda water. So Coke Zero, we've got 3 litres, Diet Coke, we've got 1 litre, and soda water, if we read this, we had 8 litres. So that's 4:8. Now we can actually simplify this ratio, and to simplify we'll have to divide by the highest common factor. So the highest common factor of 4 and 8 is going to be 4, so that's the highest number they can both be divided by. So 4 divided by 4 is going to be 1, 8 divided by 4 is going to give us 2. So our answer there would be 1:2. Question 2, calculate the following ratios in the simplest form. So again, we're dealing with ratios. So if we look at A, we've got 40 cents to $2. Now, hopefully we'll look at this and you'll realize, well, that can't actually be a ratio because we know ratios have to be in the same unit. So we're going to have to convert them to the same unit. So you can convert them both to cents or both to dollars. Now, I find it easier to convert them both to cents, so I always pick the smaller unit. That way I don't have to deal with any decimals. So I go 40 cents. Now $2 to cents. To get $2 to cents, we have to multiply by 100 because there's 100 cents in a dollar. So it'd be 200 cents. Once they're in the same unit, I don't actually have to write the unit, so it's just 40:200, and I can simplify. So I'm going to divide both sides, and I have to divide them both by their highest common factor. So the number that they can both be divided by, that's the highest, is 40. So I'm going to divide, there we go, divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by 40. So to start off with, I'll do 40 divided by 40, which is 1, and 200 divided by 40, which is 5. So my answer there would be 1:5. That would be my simplified ratio. Now the next one is fractions. So I've got 2/3. Oh, why does that keep happening? My pen keeps being weird. 2/3 to 4/5. Now there's a few different ways you can do this. So there's 2 different methods. I'm going to show you both. You don't have to do both. You only have to do one of them, and you can pick whichever one you are more comfortable with. So the first is to cross multiply and then get rid of the denominators, and the second is to multiply by their lowest common multiple. Up to you. So I'll show you the cross multiplication first. So this means we have to multiply each fraction by the denominator of the other fraction. So for instance, the 2/3, we're going to multiply that by 5 because 5 is the denominator of the other fraction. And then the 4/5, we're going to multiply by 3 because 3 is the denominator of the other one. So we're multiplying both of those numbers. So 2 times 5 over 3 times 5 is to 4 times 3 over 5 times 3. And then I can just solve that. So 2 times 5 is 10, 3 times 5 is 15. My other fraction, 4 times 3 is 12, 5 times 3 is 15. Now they've got the same denominator, so I can just get rid of those denominators. So it's 10:12, and then I can just simplify my fraction. So I'll divide them by their highest common factor, which is 2. So 10 divided by 2 is 5, 12 divided by 2 is 6. So the opposite way, an alternate way, you don't have to do it the alternate way, it's totally up to you, whichever makes more sense. So 2/3 to 4/5, the lowest common multiple of 3 and 5 equals 15. So I'll do 2/3 multiplied by 15 is to 4/5 multiplied by 15. So 2/3 times 15. If you're using your calculator, you type 2 divided by 3 times 15, and that will give you an answer of 10. 4 divided by 5 times 15 will give you an answer of 12, and then you can simplify from there. So again, dividing them by 2, because that's the highest number they can both be divided by, which is 5 to 6. As I said, pick which one makes more sense to you and use that method. Okay, question 3. Share 45 jelly beans into the ratio of 3:2. Okay, so I'm sharing an amount, which is 45, into a ratio. So I know whenever I share an amount into a ratio, the first thing I have to do is find the total number of parts. So the total number of parts is where I add up both parts of the ratio. So I'm going to add the 3 and the 2 together. So that will give me 5. So there's 5 parts in total of 45. So 45 equals 5 parts. Now, because I've got to share it into smaller units, I need to find out what 1 part is equal to. So if I divide both sides by 5, I'll find 1 part. So 45 divided by 5 will give me 9. And 5 divided by 5 is 1 part. So 9 is 1 part. So 9 jelly beans is 1 part. By my ratio, I asked for 3 parts and 2 parts. So 3 parts will obviously be 1 part multiplied by 3. So it's 9 multiplied by 3, which is 27. 2 parts would be 1 part, which is 9 multiplied by 2, which is 18. So therefore, it would be shared 27 jelly beans to 18 jelly beans. There we go. Okay, so question 4. Emily and Josh are competing in the Brizzy to the Bay charity bike ride and have completed the first 36 kilometres in 2 hours. So calculate their average speed in meters per second. Well, straight away, meters per second, I know I'm dealing with rates. So I'm going to write down what I know from the question, which is they did 36 kilometres in 2 hours. Okay, but I don't want it in hours or kilometres, I want it in meters per second. So again, the order that I'm doing these steps isn't always important for all the steps. So you might have done it slightly differently, but as long as you've got the same answer, that's okay. The first thing I'm going to do is work out how far they're going to go in 1 hour. Just to make it a bit easier, so I'm going to go to kilometres per hour. So I'm going to divide by 2 to find that out. So 36 divided by 2 is 18, so that means they're doing 18 kilometres in 1 hour. So they're going 18 kilometres an hour, but it doesn't ask for kilometres per hour, it asks for metres per second. So I'm going to convert the kilometres to metres. So there's 1,000 metres in a kilometre, so I have to times by 1,000 to work out what my answer would be. So 18 times 1,000 is 18,000 metres, and it doesn't ask for hours, it asks for seconds. So I'll convert to minutes first, so times by 60 because there's 60 minutes in an hour, so that's 60 minutes. So they've gone 18,000 meters in 60 minutes, but again, it doesn't want minutes, it wants seconds. So 18,000 meters in, I'm going to convert that 60 minutes to seconds. There's 60 seconds in a minute, so I'm going to multiply it by 60 again, which will give me 3,600 seconds. So they're gone 18,000 meters in 3,600 seconds, but it wants per individual second. So I'm going to divide those 3,600 seconds by 3,600 to get 1 second. And I'm going to divide both sides to find out how far they go in 1 second. So 18,000 divided by 3,600 is 5. So 5 meters in 3,600 divided by 3,600 is 1. So 1 second. So therefore the speed is 5 meters per second. So that's their average speed. Okay, question 5. If 3 bottles of Coke contain 45 teaspoons of sugar, calculate how many bottles would have 150 teaspoons. So again, there's a few ways you can do this question. I'm just going to show you the one way that I picked. So I know that 3 bottles have 45 teaspoons. So I want to know how much 1 bottle will have. So I'm going to divide by 3 because the question's asking me how many bottles. So I want to know how much each bottle would have. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. So 1 bottle has 45 divided by 3 is 15. So one bottle has 15 teaspoons, but it's asking me about 150 teaspoons. So I need to work out how many bottles that is. So it's 150 teaspoons divided by the number of teaspoons per bottle, which is 15, and that will tell me how many bottles there are. So 150 divided by 15 obviously equals 10, so therefore there must be 10 bottles because each of them has 15 grams of sugar. Therefore, 10 bottles would have 150 teaspoons of sugar. And that would be my answer there. Okay, question 6. An engineer's drawing of an aircraft is drawn at a scale of 1:250. Calculate the scaled length of the aircraft if it's 225 meters long in real life. Okay, so we're given the actual length of the aircraft. Why is my pen now grey? Okay, so we're given the actual length, which is 22.5 meters, and we're given the scale factor. So if we look at our ratio, our scale factor is 250. Okay, so we need to calculate the scaled length because that's what our question asks for. So our scaled length, as we know, if we're going from actual length to scaled length, we do division. So our scaled length is our actual length divided by our scaled factor. So our scale factor. So our actual length was 22.5 meters divided by our scale factor, which was 250. So if we type that into our calculator, we'll get 0.09 meters. Now that's not really a practical unit. If you ask, how far away is your computer? You say, oh, 0.09 meters. No, that doesn't make sense. So we're going to convert that to centimeters. So there's 100 centimeters in a meter, so we're going to multiply by 100 to get our answer. So 0.09 multiplied by 100 is 9 centimeters, and that's it. That's a good length. So that's our answer to the question. So therefore, the scaled length of, that's terrible writing, of the aircraft is 9 centimeters. Perfect. Okay, question 7. Margaret purchased a 3-bedroom house for $385,000 and sold it a year later for $462,000. Calculate the percentage profit on her investment. Okay, so her percentage profit, we know our formula for that. So percentage profit is the profit that she's made over the original. Sorry about the bell. So the profit over the original value times by 100%. Now, we know some of these, but not all of these. So first we have to calculate a profit. So our profit is going to be equal to, our selling price minus our cost price. So how much she sold it for minus how much it cost her. So if we read our question, the selling price, she sold it a year later for $462,000. The cost price, she purchased the house for $385,000. So if we work that out, we'll work out our profit is $77,000. So now we know our profit, we can put it back into our formula there. So her percentage profit was the profit over the original value times 100%. So the profit we worked out was $77,000. Her original value was how much she originally paid for it, which was $385,000. Multiply that by 100. If we put that into our calculator, we'll get 20%. So then we can just write our answer. I'm going to write it to the side, you'd write it below. Therefore, her percentage, it's an E, profit is 20%. Okay, so for this one, it's just a matter of knowing your formulas here. Okay, question 8. Excuse me. Bobby Jones bought a mint condition copy of Michael Jackson's Thriller album in 1982. She originally paid $6 for it, but now expects to sell it with a 450% profit. So calculate the selling price of the album. Selling price. We have a formula for that. So first of all, we're going to write our formula out. So selling price, as we know, our selling price is our cost price plus our markup. Now our cost price is how much she bought it for, which was $6, and our markup, that's in dollars. So $6 plus the markup, which is 450%. So we need to work out what 450% is before we can do this. So 450% of $6, so that's equal to 4.5, because I've turned 450 into a decimal, times by 6, which will give me $27. So there we go, that's my markup. So I can put that back into my formula. So that's $6 plus $27. Also, if you're doing this in your book, please don't do what I've done. Put this that I'm circling, put that somewhere else, like over to the side, so you can continue this formula down the page. So $6 plus $27 will give us a total of $33. So therefore, she would sell the album for $33. There we go. Okay, now we're on to our maps questions. So these questions are a little bit harder. So Glenda, Joan and Petra have lunch together, and when the bill comes, it is not itemised. So that means they can't tell how much each item costs. Just said that, which means the individual prices of each, of course, are not listed. So the total bill is $105. All three had the same lunch special with a main course and a drink, but Joan also had a dessert. Okay, so propose a ratio that could be used to split the bill fairly and explain your reasoning. Now for A, there's a few different ways you could work this out, and you could get a few different answers, but these answers could all be correct as long as you've used correct mathematical procedure and you've explained it properly. I'm just going to show you one way. You might have something different. If you're worried about whether yours is wrong or whether it be marked right, you can come and ask me about it, but just make sure you're using the right processes. So it's asking for a ratio. So it's going to be Glenda, how much she pays, to how much Joan pays, to how much Petra pays. Well, the way I'm going to work this out is I'm going to write down what each of them had. So Glenda had a main course and a drink. So she had a main plus a drink. Joan also had a main plus a drink, but she also had a dessert. Petra had a main plus a drink. Okay, so now I've got what each of them have had, and I'm just going to put a number on that. So Glenda had 2 things, a main and a drink, so that's 2. Joan had 3 things, a main, a drink, and a dessert. And Petra had 2, a main and a drink. So that would be my ratio. So then the question asks for an explanation as well. So it's not enough just to give a ratio, you have to explain your reasoning. And you need to say why you think this is a fair ratio. Okay, so my reasoning here, so the ratio 2:3:2 is fair because Glenda probably needs a capital G because that's her name. Why is that not erasing? I don't know, I'll just cross this out because, and I did it again. Glenda had 2 items to eat. Joan had 3 and Petra had 2. This way they, are splitting the bill according to the number of items they had. Number of items they purchased. Okay, so now I've explained it and I've given my ratio, I can move on to B. So B, use your ratio to calculate how much each person needs to pay. So my ratio, if you remember, was 2:3:2. And we need to work out how much they need to pay. So the amount was $105. So now I'm going to just divide that amount into the ratio. That's all that question is asking you for. So the first part when I'm dividing an amount into a ratio is to find the total number of parts. So the total number of parts is 2 plus 3 plus 2. Remember, I just add the part to the ratio. So if I add that together, I get 7. So $105 is 7 parts. but I don't want 7 parts. I want to find out what 1 part is so that I can multiply it up. So I'll divide both sides by 7. So 105 divided by 7 is 15. 7 divided by 7 is 1. So $15 is 1 part. Okay, I'm going to have to clear the screen. So now I need to work out what each person has to pay. So Glenda pays 2 parts. And that is equal to 2 times 15, because 1 part is $15. She's got 2 parts, so she's going to pay $30. Joan paid 3 parts. So that's 3 times 1 part, which is $15, and that's $45. And lucky last Petra, she pays 2 parts as well. So again, that's 2 times 15, and that's $30. That's a 2 there. Okay, so she pays $30. Then you'd write a worded answer. Therefore, Glenda and Petra each pay $30, and Joan pays $45. It's as simple as that. Okay, question 10. So Martha's favourite clothing shop is offering a buy 2 get the third half price offer on t-shirts. The shop next door is offering 20% off the same brand of t-shirts. The regular retail price of t-shirts in both stores is $19.95. Determine which store is the cheaper place to buy 3 t-shirts and calculate how much she would save compared to the other store. Okay, so this is asking us to do a number of things. First, it's asking us to find out how much 3 t-shirts cost at both stores. Once we've done that, we need to work out which one's cheaper and by how much. So we'll start off with Martha's favourite shop. So her favourite shop is offering buy 2 get the third half price. So buy 2 get third half price. Okay, so let's calculate the cost. So how much is it going to cost her to buy 3 shirts? So the cost of 3 shirts, so each shirt is $19.95. So it's $19.95 for the first one, $19.95 for the second one. The third one's going to be half price though. So it's going to be 0.5 times $19.95 to find out that price. So with our order of operations, obviously we have to do our brackets first. So it's $19.95 plus $19.95. So if we put into our calculator 0.5 times $19.95, we'll get 9.975. We can then add those all together, which is 49.875. But because this is in dollars, obviously you can't have $49.87.5, so we're going to have to round to 2 decimal places. So we're going to look at our rounding digit, which is 7, and our critical digit, which is 5. So 5 is obviously equal to 5 or greater. So that means our rounding digit has to move up by 1. So that means our 7 has to become an 8. So it's going to be $49.88 at her favourite shop. Okay, at the shop next door, so the second shop. So the second shop, they're just offering 20% off all shirts. Okay, so the cost of 3 shirts then is 20% off each shirt. So if it's 20% off, that means they're paying 80% of the price, because 100% minus 20% equals 80%. So they're paying 80% of the cost. So I'm going to put that into a decimal. So 80% equals 0.8. So the cost of the shirt is 0.8 times $19.95, and she's buying 3 shirts, so we're going to multiply that by 3. So each shirt then is going to be $15.96 multiplied by 3 for the 3 shirts, which is $47.88. Okay, so at the second shop they cost $47.88, and at her favourite shop it was $49.88. So obviously her favourite shop is more expensive and the second shop is cheaper. But the question asked us to calculate how much she would save compared to the other store. Okay, so we'd write, we need to work out the difference in the price. So the price difference is the cost at her favourite store minus the cost at the second store. So at her favourite store, the cost for the 3 shirts would be $49.88. At the second store, the cost is only $47.88. So obviously, that's a $2 price difference. So then we're going to put that all together in an answer. So therefore, the second store is the cheaper place. And she would save $2 compared to her favourite store. There we go. Okay, question 11 now. So this is our last question. So Usain Bolt, the 100-metre world record holder, can run 100 metres in 9.58 seconds. So he's super fast. A Year 12 student claimed that he can run a 6 kilometre cross country in 10 minutes. Analyse the student's claim and evaluate whether he was telling the truth. Okay, so this question takes a little bit of unpacking. So the student's doing 6 kilometres in 10 minutes, Usain Bolt runs 100 metres in 9.58 seconds. So we need to kind of compare. So either you can compare how long it would take Usain Bolt to run the 6 kilometres or how long it would take the Year 12 student to run 100 metres. So I'm going to work out how long it takes the Year 12 student to run 100 metres. So they can do 6 kilometres in 10 minutes. So from there, I'm going to work out how many metres that is because Usain Bolt, his record is in metres, not kilometres. So we know there's 1,000 metres in a kilometre, so I'm going to multiply by 1,000. So that's 6,000 metres in 10 minutes. But Usain Bolt record isn't in minutes, it's in seconds. So I'm going to divide that by 10 first and divide that by 10 to find out how far he can go in 1 minute. So 6,000 divided by 10 is 600 metres in 1 minute. But again, I want it in seconds, so I'm just going to convert that 1 minute to seconds, which is 60 seconds, because there's 60 seconds in a minute. So I know you can do 600 metres in 60 seconds. But the question asks but Usain Bolt's record is in 100 metres, so I'm going to find out how long it takes him to do 100 metres. So to get 600 to equal 100, I have to divide by 6. I have to divide both sides by 6. To see how long it will take him. So 600 divided by 6 is 100 metres and 60 divided by 6 is 10. So that means he was running 100 metres in 10 seconds. Now, obviously this is slower than Usain Bolt, but only by half a second, and he reckons he's keeping this speed up for 6 kilometres. So I would say he's not telling the truth because I don't think you can run as fast as you can run 100 metres. I don't think you can keep that up for 6 kilometres. So the student is not telling the truth. Now, when you're evaluating, you actually have to give some reasons why. So he's not telling the truth because that means he is running 100 metres in 10 seconds, which is only 0.42 seconds slower than Usain's record, and he said he can keep that up for 6 kilometres, which is impossible as he'd get tired. There we go. So that would be my answer there. And that's the last slide. So if you have any questions with any of this, if you're not sure or you want to get some of your answers checked, please make sure you come and see me.